So, as we mentioned earlier, there are administrative requirements which warrant joint venture to be set up, and then there are requirements in terms of getting access to certain capabilities that joint venture becomes a preferred mode of entry into the market. Then joint venture also is a good option in terms of risk hedging, particularly when the financial investment is very high and the return on investment is uncertain. When you actually create a new industry, you are not very sure about return on investment, and sometimes the project is very complex, and the output and the outcome is uncertain. Sometimes there are apprehensions about the acceptance of the product or the service in the market, and there are instances of macroeconomic and political instability in the country. So, although many of the African countries, I think Monica would agree with me that Egypt is one of the African countries which consistently has shown good economic development. But then there are so many other African countries which have gone through a lot of political disturbance and insurgency, such as Somalia and Chad and so many other nations. So, although there is potential, there is a market, but we don't know the extent to which a multinational would be surviving in those hostile conditions. So, if you have a joint venture with a local partner, to a certain extent, you are assured that they will take care of these aspects. So, risk hedging is another primary reason why joint ventures are happening. So, again, a joint venture is an enterprise formed for specific purpose by two or more investors who decide to share ownership and control and become partner to decision making. So, company resources, circumstances, and the reasons for wanting to do business overseas will determine whether joint venture is the most reasonable way to enter in the overseas market or not. What does it bring? It brings flexibility and adaptability. So you can either enter into an equity arrangement, or this could be some other form of a contractual agreement restricted to a specific project. And the very definition of joint venture says that it is a temporary arrangement. So there is no commitment, and you can always exit the venture. And you can enter into the non-core business. For example, if I represent, let's say, um, Aditya Birla Enterprise, and I am not into petroleum, uh, you know, synthesizing the petroleum, and that's not my core business. Okay, but then if I have a project, let's say in Ghana, and as part of that project, I identify that the neighboring nation Nigeria has a lot of oil resources, and a company over there is looking for some partner, and so you can decide to enter into that petroleum refinery business, although that is not your core area of operation. Okay, so you can enter, and if the project is not giving you good returns, or you find that you are not capable enough to actually deal with this project in the long run, so you can have an easy exit option of you know diluting your stake, and either the government or the private entity in that market can buy your share. So this inherent flexibility and adaptability is a promise that is never actually broken. And then you have what you call as the accessibility. So we discussed earlier that the joint venture partner or the multinational can have access to all the relevant knowledge and information required. And now this is really important. One of the primary motive for a developing nation to allow foreign investment is to have access to the concurrent new technology. And a foreign partner acts as a driving force for the Indian companies which do not have the state of the art technology. And when you have state of the art technology which is actually successful in the international market, so the risk is minimized. The risk of the failure of the new joint venture will be minimal. And so you have a product without compromising on the quality standards, and that is actually a great promise. Then you share the liabilities as well. So risk sharing is happening because the liabilities are shared, and the burden, the pressure, and the loss, if any, everything is actually shared by two or more entities who are part of the joint venture. And then you can have increased capacity of production and sales because you have access to advanced technology, and the multinational may have access to cheap labor. Many of the companies which entered the Indian market actually were looking at cheap labor, whether it is the service sector companies, the IT, outsourcing that took place, and sometimes in the form of joint venture. So I think the availability of not just cheap labor, but also our pool of engineers. Every year we produce more than 6-7 lakh engineers, and so you can understand the extent of availability of the engineers. By the way, how many engineers do we have in our class? I would be interested to know. Okay, so all the equipment and capital which are needed for the projects can be available conveniently, and we can actually reduce the research and the production cost without compromising on the quality standards which are associated with the product or the service under consideration. Uh, so, with this background, I hope you have understood the reason why joint ventures are a preferred mode. Now, let us see some of the success stories in the Indian market. So, as we mentioned earlier, MNCs will have access to global market and distribution channels, and they will be able to get insight into the market and many of the other political and economic characteristics of the market. And therefore, together with the joint venture partner, the local partner, they can deliver exceptional results. So, let's see some of the example. In the airline business, we have Vistara, and here the two partners are the Tata Sons from India and Singapore Airlines from Singapore. And the brand name is Tata SIA Airlines Limited, which we popularly call as Vistara, where Tata Sons holds 51% equity stake, and Singapore Airlines holds the remaining 49% of the equity stake in the airline. We have another Tata Group joint venture, and this is Tata Starbucks Private Limited. And Starbucks is the US brand, and it runs a chain of Starbucks brand coffee shops across the world. And now they have their coffee shops across the country. And we have Network 18 Media and Investment, which is another example of success of the joint venture. We all know about Network 18, which is currently owned by the Reliance Industries, and this is a very popular electronic media company. And it has two very successful joint ventures. When it comes to sharing of the news, we have collaboration of Network 18 with Cable News Network or CNN. CNN is a Time Warner company, and it has its satellite TV channels, CNN News 18, CNBC News 18, CNBC Avaz, and IBN 7. These are the news-based, news content-based um, channels which come courtesy collaboration with CNN from US. Then there is another one for the entertainment segment. We have the joint venture between Network 18 and Viacom, which operates through popular satellite TV channels, Colors, Colors HD, and MTV, among others. Then you have Dhirubhai Ambani Aerospace Park. Not much is actually, I mean, this is not a very popular name when we talk about the joint venture success stories from India. But then this is another very, very important joint venture. It is a joint venture between Reliance Group and the global defense company from France, which is called Dassault Aviation. And this is actually located in a multimodal international hub airport, Nagpur. Um, you see, ever since the new government has come up in 2014, they have given a lot of emphasis on developing the infrastructure. And this is one such initiative. So, an agreement was signed between Reliance Group and Result in October 2018, and this agreement actually covers the design and manufacturing of defense equipment so that India's growing demand for indigenous military hardware are met. Incidentally, very recently we saw that in order to give push to Make in India program and also to prepare Indian defense sector, the government of India has decided to put an embargo on import of many of the defense products which we were sourcing from the multinationals or the overseas companies. So such projects will actually help us to actually deliver the result. And so this particular project is going to serve as a hub for exporting also. So we will be exporting the military equipment to some of the friendly countries under the Make in India and Skill India initiative. So this I thought should be shared with you. Then we have another one. So basically, you can see, the spectrum of the FDI joint ventures. So here we have another one which is into what you call as an important link into the supply chain. And this is a joint venture between Gati, which is India's leading logistic distribution and supply chain provider, and Japan's Kintetsu World Express. So the customers in India will get the high quality logistics service using the different modes of transportation. And this is a company with more than 3,500 people, and they have their network which covers the entire length and breadth of the country. So 99.3% coverage, 667 districts out of the 671 districts in India are covered by this particular collaborative venture, and they have a fleet size of more than 4,000 vehicles. So this again is an ambitious project and rather successful project. And then this is another very important joint venture. So if you recall, before the 2014 election, no, not before 2014 election, rather before the 2000, um, when did we have the last election? 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So before the 2019 elections, a lot of hue and cry was made about the fact that in the agreement with Rafale, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited was not given its due. But the fact is that HAL is a very capable Indian company, and it already has a lot of joint ventures and collaboration with multinationals. And this company is having its headquarter in Bangalore. And if any of you actually happen to visit Bangalore, I would request that. When good time comes and when we are out of this corona pandemic, I would say that please visit the Museum of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited so that you get an idea about our capabilities in the aerospace sector and other strategic, products that HAL deals with. So it is one of the Navratna companies of India, and it provides vital service to the country. Incidentally, it has some of the highest numbers of joint ventures. And these joint ventures include making fixed wing fighter and civilian aircraft, LCA, and so many others are there, aircraft engines, helicopters, defense systems, and different aerostructures, and so many other applications in the aerospace and aeronautics business. And some of the important joint ventures, Rosoboron, Export, Avias, PAC, and Mikion, Verevik of Russia, British Aerospace, Rolls-Royce of UK, Elbit System of Israel, Merlin Hawks and Edgewood Ventures from USA, and SNECMA, which is again a very strong player into the aerospace industry from France. So, you know, this is again another strategic sector company, defense sector company with lot of foreign, joint ventures. And then there are so many other Indian firms, Tata Technologies, Infotech, Samtel, ICICI, and these again are, joint venture partner with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, or HAL as we popularly call them. So, what we have already seen is that the joint venture reduces the amount of resources that each partner must contribute, and sometimes it is the only way, and sometimes it is effective in the way, because countries like Russia and China, which had a lot of restrictions of foreign direct investment, actually allowed these, and this became one of the primary things. So again, from the perspective of internal goals and strategic goal and other goals, let us see what are the reasons to form joint venture. So we can spread the cost and risk, we can have access to financial resources, we can have economies of scale arising from a larger volume, we can have access to new technologies and customer, and we can have access to innovative managerial practices. If you look at the competitive goals, sometimes this is the means to actually evolve and create a new industry. If you get back into the happenings in the last 5 years, you'll find that so many major players, Yahoo, which used to be the market leader at one point of time, you know, so that had its exit to quite an extent, although of course some of the businesses are still on, but it had to divest so many other critical applications and businesses that it was into. So the industry is evolving and new players are entering. So many, Nokia, which used to be the market leader for the mobile handset segment, had to actually sell to Microsoft, and even the Microsoft Nokia partnership has not been able to really create that kind of impact into the mobile device market as was the case with Nokia. So the industry is evolving, new technologies are coming up, the older technologies become obsolete, and the players have no relevance in the new reality of the technology market. So it is strategic, it is important to have a joint venture, and together when you develop technologies, you can have the first mover advantage, faster development of technology, because if you are the first mover, see, technology life cycle also is now so limited. A technology that you introduced, let's say the transistor technology, so when it was introduced, it uh, could run its profit trajectory, let's say for about 30 to 40 years. Then when the next stage came, it was confined to the 10 years period. So if you have a new technology, maybe the technology life cycle will only run for 5 years. So in 5 years, you have to cover all the investment that you have made. Remember, to develop technology, a lot of investment is required. If you don't talk about this kind of technology of IT, if you talk about pharmaceutical sector, there also a lot of R&D is required. So if you want to preempt the competition, you can join hand with your another partner and have the first mover advantage. And like I mentioned, not only is the industry evolving, the industry boundaries are also now getting blurred. So typically, we used to have a broadcast industry, we used to have a telecom industry, we used to have internet industry, but now they are almost converging with each other. And so it's very difficult to define as to whether this company is into this domain or the other domain. So if you join hands with companies in different segments which actually define a new product or service, this again will give you the fast mover advantage. So speed to market and agility is the key for the survival into the new market. So synergies of association and diversification opportunity, again, these are the goals that the joint venture can actually have. So, now let us understand how this process works. We have seen what are the advantages and why joint venture is a preferred mode of entry into international business. Okay, now we will see what is the sequence of things that go in incorporation of a joint venture. So as you can see over here, um, basically a multinational will do some amount of due diligence, and due diligence is something that goes across each step. So when you do market research, you identify the products and the services which have a potential into the new market that you wish to enter. And then depending on the product that you have identified, you will start looking for a partner. Then you will do the due diligence about the partner in terms of identification of the market position, how much of the market share do they have, what are the new products that they have in their kitty, what is their technological capability, what is their financial strength, to what extent they have covered the market in terms of distribution channel, and so on. And then by having all these criteria, you will make a comparison of two or three critical candidates. So if you go back to the Maruti example once again, so Maruti Udyog Limited was looking at partner. So it was from the other side, and they were looking for international partner, and they were also doing this due diligence about the partners, and they found that Suzuki is the most appropriate one. So you evaluate option, and then you identify a particular partner, and then you start with negotiations. Now negotiation is the key, because there are so many aspects which have to be settled with the other partners. Then comes the business valuation. Suppose we enter into a contractual agreement for X amount of products or services to be offered. Then what will be the amount of profit that will come up, and accordingly what is the value of the business. And based on that, you will start with business planning. So some draft proposal will be worked out as to how the project will evolve. So this is then going to be the process. And after all the due diligence is completed, then you enter into what you call as memorandum of understanding with your local partner, or I mean both the partners, the local and the multinational, they will enter into a joint venture agreement which is based on the memorandum of understanding. And there could be ancillary agreements as well. To make it more clear, again, if you talk about the automotive sector, you agree that the components come from so many different players, and the OEM actually assembles all of these components and create a car or a truck or whatever the automobile is, and sells it to the consumer. So they have to have agreement with their auto component manufacturers as well. So once the joint venture agreement happens, then for the key critical component, you they will also have the agreement with the component manufacturers. It is often seen that when the Japanese companies, when they bring the technology, they also insist that their component manufacturers are also part of the business, and they uh, would uh, create a venue for the local component manufacturers to have collaboration with their counterpart in Japan, who were supplying to Suzuki Motor Corporation, let's say. And so you will see that whether it is Sona Steering Limited, or whether it is Jai Bharat Maruti Udyog Limited, or Microbot. I mean, there are, yeah, some, Ankita, you want to say something?
What is due diligence?
Okay. Due diligence is the process of collecting information, and typically, whether it is a joint venture, whether it is a merger or acquisition, you require information about all of these: the product, about the market, about the financial position, about the technology. So when you are exploring each other means one partner and the other partner. So when you are exploring the market, when you are exploring each other, you need to dig and find information about market, about product, about technology, about distribution channel, about human resource management practices. So this exercise of seeking information is known as due diligence. Okay, can I move further? I'm glad you asked the question, and you are always welcome to ask questions. Okay, so once all of these are decided, then you actually go through the regulatory approvals. So then you may submit the proposal to FIPB, or you may actually go for the, if you are going through the automatic route, then you will form the joint venture company and inform to Reserve Bank of India within 30 days. So different nations will have different regulatory provision, but just to give you an idea, so company A and B, they both are actively seeking information with respect to market, with respect to product, technology, and other aspects of business, and together they form a new joint venture company. So, till this point, if you have any other question, you are also welcome to ask. Otherwise, we will go further. Okay, let me ask another question. Okay, so each one of you, I believe, is having a mobile handset. So, can you mention on chat what are the things that go into a mobile device? What all does it have other than a physical structure? What are the things that go into a mobile? Please mention on chat. Let me see who is the first one to enter chat box. Still waiting. What all goes into a mobile handset? So a physical product that you have consists of battery. Okay, Ayushit says battery. Just Jaipreet says processor, display, RAM, camera. What else? Storage. Okay. SD card, you mean? Okay. SIM card, speaker, sensors, softwares, yes, all kinds of applications which go into it. So the point is that even for a product such as mobile device, there are so many different sources of things that go into it. So for sound, you have another company. For software applications, you have a tie up with another set of companies. For the Just a minute.